Welcome to Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco, bringing you interviews with industry experts and regular folks who tested the job search waters and succeeded, and strategies to tell your story and land you job interviews in 60 days, guaranteed. Here's your host, Virginia Franco.
Hi, everyone. I am thrilled to introduce my podcast guest today. Alan Goff is the founder and managing director of Certified Talent Solutions, a recruiting company that specializes in connecting top talent and top sales and leadership talent with leading medical technology companies. Prior to launching Certified Talent Solutions in 2016, Alan excelled in a variety of medical sales, business development, and executive leadership positions. As a successful career changer, Alan's background includes cardiology device and capital equipment sales roles, in addition to executive leadership positions at an e-commerce capital medical equipment startup. He's worked on both international and domestic companies across a wide variety of geographies, from major metropolitan markets to even large rural territories. He launched Certified Talent Solutions last year, an affiliate of the MRI Network that was named by Forbes in 2017 as a top 10 U.S. executive search firm. His industry specialties are medical device, capital medical equipment, interventional medicine, and medical IT. He brings to our discussion more than 25 years of experience in sales and leadership roles, and he's very well positioned to help his clients find the top-tier professionals that are really vital to success in today's competitive market. So, Alan, thank you so much for joining me. I'm really excited about our talk.
My pleasure, Virginia. Looking forward to it.
So, I just spent a few minutes reading your bio, but I'd love to hear from you. Can you give me a quick overview for our listeners of what you do?
Yeah, you actually captured it pretty well. I spent most of my career in sales and business development roles in the medical technology space, and just decided as I got to 50 in November of last year, I hit that milestone. Maybe 50 is the new midlife crisis stage. I don't know.
Happy birthday. Mine's in 2 months.
I decided to kind of get off of the corporate rat wheel and try to do my own thing and launch my own recruiting business. So I had great relationships with a handful of really strong recruiters over that time frame, and they were people that had a really profound impact on my career, brought me new opportunities, helped me stay connected in the industry, and I felt like this would be a great role for me to take the experience and the background I've had in the past and be able to provide that kind of connection for people. It's a very stressful time in their life when they're either considering making a career change or just advancing their career in a different direction, or things aren't quite going right where they're at. So it's been a real pleasure for me to step into this role and now play that kind of connector role for great companies and great people.
So I'm going to skip ahead to the list of questions that I provided to you. I think what you said is it's a natural segue. What do you see as sort of one or two major challenges facing those that were, that are on the other side of the fence, where you once were, facing the job search waters for the first time, or thinking about making a career change?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things, Virginia, that I see as major challenges. I see more on the hiring company side, the employer side, if you will. And I think the biggest challenge that I'm seeing is that so many companies today really want to put people in a box. And by that, I mean they've got a very narrow job description. They expect candidates to fit, neatly into that little box. If they don't, or if they have certain experience outside of that, or maybe something that for whatever reason gives someone pause, they really kind of want to shift and move on. And I just think this is a very unrealistic expectation. I'm constantly working with hiring authorities and human resource professionals at these companies to get them to think in terms of finding truly the best person for the role versus someone who fits in a little box defined by a company HR job description. So that's one challenge, and that's the challenge I see on the employer side. On the other side, from the individual side who's considering making a change, whatever case that might be, maybe they're like me and they're going to move their career in a completely different direction, obviously still in the same industry, but different kind of role altogether. I think that the challenge for people that I deal with on a daily basis who are in that mode is that people today, and I don't want this to sound harsh, but I think people lack a true sense of self-awareness. And by that I mean that when someone sees a job posted that requires certain skills that they don't have, they go ahead and apply for it anyway, either because they're nervous, they think, oh my gosh, I got to just apply for this, maybe somebody will see something. If you don't have a certain skill set, you got to figure out how to get those skills in order to, move to that next stage. And I just think a lot of people are spinning their wheels and wasting their time. And I see things posted on LinkedIn of people who've applied for hundreds of jobs. And I'm thinking there's a lack of focus there and a lack of self-awareness that must be happening with that person. Because I think if someone really knows who they are and what they bring to the table, they're going to really focus and go out there, and that will, play into our discussion further, I'm sure. But I know now that kind of sounds like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I'm saying companies want people to fit in a box, but if you don't fit in that box, don't apply for the job or don't submit, an inquiry. That's not really what I'm saying. I'm just trying to say that the people, when they are looking for a position, really need to honestly assess what skills they have, what strengths they bring to the table, and how that would apply in that next position that they're interested in pursuing.
What's your take on, I ask my clients to send me job postings all the time, and sometimes there's just so much in there. I can't imagine even finding a person that actually meets all of those requirements. Do you feel like do you see that in your industry? What's your thought on that? And do you sort of say, do you have a percentage? Do you say if you meet X percentage of this criteria, then you're probably a good fit for this role that's been posted?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do see that a little bit. I try to really spend time up front when we get engaged on a new search and when we've got an opportunity that we're going to take and post on our website and start actively looking for new candidates for. I really try to spend the time with the hiring manager to distill what are the most important things that they have. Again, I don't think anybody really truly hires off a job description, and nobody hires a resume, right? We're not working off of paper. There's people involved, there's emotions involved, there's a lot of other factors that come to play. So I think trying to set that expectation on both sides of the equation, whether it's with the hiring authority with regards to how much of this are they really truly likely to see, and how much of it's vital versus how much of it is nice to have. And then on the job seeker side or the candidate side, where it's, okay, I know that maybe you don't have all of these things, but these are essential. If you've got those essential things, that's great. And some of this other stuff, we can define it, package it up in a way, and make them look as strong as possible for that role.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. So given that you work with companies that are hiring, is there something that you see sort of time and time again that your clients are surprised by?
I think what I'm seeing is that people are pretty surprised by the competitiveness of the market for top talent. It's often amazing to me how often hiring authorities are surprised that people are interviewing with other companies. It's kind of like when you're dating. What do you mean? They're dating someone else? Well, when you first start dating or you're talking,
there's no ring.
Yeah, exactly. You haven't proposed yet, so don't be surprised if they're talking with other people. And then the other piece to that I see is that oftentimes companies today still are taking so long in their hiring process that it chases people away. They might have other opportunities that they're looking at. They might finally decide, you know what, it doesn't seem like they've got a real strategy here. And I try to, again, up front, find out from the hiring authorities, tell me specifically what your hiring process is. What is your timeline? I want to provide as much concrete information to people who are looking at this role as I possibly can, and really try to hold both parties accountable to that timeline, because if things start dragging out, or, yeah, you know what, we want them to talk to this other person now, or we want her to talk to 3 other reps, and that wasn't part of the equation, and now all of a sudden they're thinking, well, wait a minute, I thought we were kind of getting down to the wire here. We've had multiple interviews, we've had in-person, I've visited the company headquarters, and now the process changes. So I think it's a long-winded answer, and I probably threw a little bit more in there than you wanted, but I think people on the hiring side don't realize how much of an impact all of that has on the candidates that they're dealing with. And I'll just add in another thing that just occurred to me as we're talking about that, and that is just really the need for full, open, honest communication. It really is frustrating for people who are looking for a new role when they don't know where they stand. And oftentimes as recruiters, we're kind of stuck in the middle because we're not getting the information we need from the hiring authority, and we can't just make things up. But I've always just made it a point, because I experienced it myself on the other side of the equation when I was out in the field for 25 years, was I just decided I'm going to be, very proactive in my communication. And even if I don't have something, if I think it's time that the candidate should know something about what's going on, I'll just update them and say, hey, I'm forgetting about you. Just let me know things are still working on this. Keep things positive and moving forward in their mind.
Do you recommend the job seekers, number one, be equally transparent in terms of, they are dating around, they are looking at other places, and number two, with the communications, how do you advise job seekers on following up without feeling like a stalker or feeling desperate?
Yeah. That's a great point. I think, first of all, I try to pull out as much of that and try to really establish kind of an open, honest communication up front with everyone. Again, I'm kind of in the middle, as recruiters, we're kind of in the middle of that process, and I'm going to respect people's privacy, and if they're looking at other opportunities, I certainly don't fault them for that. But to be able to communicate directly and say, hey, I've got 2 or 3 other things I'm looking at. I'm in the first interview stage with this company. I don't even have to know the name of the company, but the more open and honest communication I can get on both sides of the equation, it's helpful for everybody.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. So what is your best piece of advice you can give someone who is thinking about making a career move? Or who's engaged in a job hunt that really is not, without success. Things are not moving.
Well, so there's a couple things there. I would say probably the same answer for both of those. Whether somebody's interested in making a career move, or they're kind of engaged in a hunt and they haven't quite had the success that they're looking for. I think the first thing I would say is you are in control. You need to figure your own stuff out, right? This is not a time in your life when you really should be uncertain or kind of lacking that drive and that focus for what you want. If you can't communicate clearly what you're chasing after, it's going to be very hard for someone like myself to want to recommend you to interview for a company when I don't have a clear sense that that's really the direction you want to go. If it's you're fishing, you're looking, oh, hey, maybe I'll do something different or whatever, you may not be the best person for that particular opportunity at that particular point in time. It's frustrating to speak with someone who's unhappy in their current role, and yet they don't really have any clear direction for where they want to go next.
Be able to articulate sort of a targeted direction and really understand how their value, to be able to sort of crystallize their value?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, It kind of goes back to that self-awareness thing. You need to really understand kind of where you're at, what you've accomplished, where you want to go. And at the end of the day, we all only have one life to live. So you got to figure it out, and then you got to go after it. And I think so many people feel like they're just a pawn in the game as opposed to maybe potentially really being in control of their own future or their own career. Yes, if you're working for a company, ultimately you're kind of at the mercy of whether that company wants to keep you around. And, as an employee, you're really just a tool for that company. I think we all understand that. And in sales, people know that they need to produce. And if they're not producing, chances are it's probably not going to happen. And there could be any number of reasons for that. But I think it's very important for people to know that they need to be the ones in control. They need to be setting the course and adjust that course if things change.
I love that. I always tell people you're the CEO of your own career.
Absolutely.
Not
That's great.
that. So
and I guess
what
the other piece of advice, I'm sorry, there was one other thing I was going to add on there. And for when we were talking about, you had a second part of that question, which was, what about people that aren't having the success that they need? And I would say if you're not having that success, it may kind of go back to that first thing. But the real key is don't give up. Don't stop. If it's not working, you really need to get honest with yourself and figure out why. Engage some trusted advisors, whether it's a recruiter, a former manager, a friend, a loved one. Friends and loved ones may not necessarily be the best people sometimes because they tend to candy coat things and don't really see you on the professional side. I think a lot of us tend to isolate ourselves, and we don't want people knowing kind of, well, I'm not really good at that, or I probably should improve here. And even though we know that, we kind of try to hide that. But if you can get other people engaged in your life that truly know you, know what you're about, know what you're capable of, give them permission to be brutally honest with you about your background, your resume, your past accomplishments or lack thereof, your goals. You don't give up, but make sure you've got that strategy in place and make sure it's the right strategy for you, not for someone else.
That's great advice. That is great advice. Thank you. So what do you say to the candidate who, I'm thinking in your world, someone who could say, well, I could be an individual contributor, or I can lead a team. I can go in a couple different directions. Does that sort of cloudy the waters in terms of a targeted value proposition?
It can. I think that someone who has had a few responsibilities in their career has in my world, been in the sales world, maybe moved into a frontline manager role, maybe even a director role, managing managers. Those people have a lot of great experiences, and I don't think someone should fault them if at some point in time in their career they say, you know what, I want to shift gears. I wouldn't mind being a sales rep again and just managing and running my own territory. Is that unconventional? Yes. Do people look down on it? Yeah, they do. And quite honestly, I don't really understand why, because if somebody's got the capacity to lead a team and they've done so effectively, and they say, you know what, I just want to be the best team member in this particular territory right now. I don't want to run a team. I think that should be fine. I think that's kind of an uphill battle. It's definitely one that I have conversations with on almost every sales position that I recruit for, because there are a lot of people that would be quite happy in an individual contributor role, and they don't get that opportunity because a company just in their tiny little box that just doesn't compute.
So do you recommend that they have a resume for individual contributor and a resume for leadership? They could maybe go in either direction?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
So, right. and again, I'll try to flesh that out with people. I will try to make sure they really understand and clearly articulate what it is that they want. I don't like it when somebody says, well, I could do this, or I could do that, or I could do this.
Yeah.
that to me, that goes back to, what I said earlier about having focus. You've got to focus and you've got to figure out what you want. Don't just take anything that comes your way. So if there's an individual contributor role that seems like it would be a great fit and something that would be fulfilling and pays you appropriately and allows you to, have the kind of lifestyle you want and career satisfaction that you want, great. But draft your resume to reflect that. Does that mean you take off your management experience off your resume? No. But you just need to provide the focus of this is the type of role that I'm looking for in the way that the resume is written.
Okay. All right. So since you and I are hitting that 50-year-old mark, the half-century mark, I want to talk about age discrimination.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on it, especially in the healthcare sales arena or medical sales?
Obviously, I divulged that earlier, my advanced age, and it does hit close to home for me. I actually, I started this recruiting company in December of last year, so it was right after I turned 50. But in my late 40s, I was even seeing where I felt like, now this maybe is not true, but I felt like there were other opportunities I was potentially pursuing outside of the company that I was with, and they didn't pan out for whatever reason. Or there might have even been opportunities within the company I was in for advancing that for whatever reason didn't pan out. So I think we all know that discrimination is illegal, but we also know that it's nearly impossible to prove. And it's just something that those of us that are a little more advanced in age and a little bit further along in our careers, we have to deal with it. I find that I have more excitement and energy about what I'm doing now than I've had in a long time in my professional career, because I feel like it's the right fit for me, and goes back to kind of that discussion that we had earlier. So I think when someone finds, that role where they're at, they're going to be excited. They've got plenty of fuel in the tank, and they can go out and do what they need to do. But certainly companies try to influence the hiring decision based on years of experience, or we want someone who's up and coming, or the type of language that's used. Mm-hmm. And it's all very subtle. But I think there's just a huge misperception out there that older workers are lazy, or they want to coast in the latter stages of their career.
Or their skills are out of date.
Yeah. Well, of course. And I think they bring a lot of knowledge that can help elevate the whole team. They're great at mentoring, especially in the field that I work in, which is, in the recruiting field for medical sales, medical device. Those people, their experience is valuable, and they bring a lot to the table.
Are there, does this go back to articulating your value? Do you feel like that is sort of the best battle plan to overcome these kind of perceptions?
Yeah, I think it absolutely is. I think the other thing is that, at least in my industry, there are a lot of positions that are posted through recruiters, but a lot of larger companies have their own in-house talent acquisition teams, and people are submitting their resumes online, and they're going through some computerized applicant tracking system and searching for keywords, and things, they get kicked out of the system before they even have a chance to speak with anybody. So I think in situations like this, it's probably more important to have a relationship with a handful of good recruiters that know your story, can kind of try to sell you to the hiring authority, and kind of state the case for why they need to look outside of that narrow box that they've created.
I love that. Okay, that's great advice. Okay, so one or two tools that you think a job seeker cannot be without during their career search or job search?
Well, this is probably the easiest question you've asked me all day.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, the obvious answer is they need a good professional resume writer and a good recruiter.
How do you think they should go about finding a recruiter?
I think, there are a wealth of resources available. Looking on LinkedIn, seeing who's active in the industry, who has positions that are, actively being posted, actively being filled. There's a ton of great recruiters out there. There's lots of online job boards, industry-specific job boards. Oftentimes, those are posted by recruiters, so you can find people through that. Asking your colleagues. I spent a lot of time in my career in interventional cardiology space and knew, a handful of really well-connected people with the top interventional cardiology companies. And there's top recruiters in little segments of the industry, throughout. So I think it's just a matter of networking and asking people, who do you work with? Who do you trust? Who does a good job?
And that goes back to that, having that relationship so that they can fit your case for you to, try to compel people to look outside the box. Okay. So what is next for you? I mean, this is an exciting, I'm so excited about this company, and it's obviously taken off. What do you see as your next, what do you see for the next 12 months for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's an exciting time anytime you start something new. It's been a whirlwind for sure. I've been in business by myself, and that's one of the nice things about the recruiting business is that I could start it by myself, but I had no intention of being kind of a solopreneur. I wanted to build a company and share the knowledge and the passion that I have with others and help as many people as possible. So we're growing. Our team is expanding. We just moved into some new office space and looking to, hire new talent to bring on board to, help grow the company and help even more people, during a very stressful time in their life. I think, I really look at what I get to do on a daily basis is serve others and help provide some really honest feedback. I try to provide that feedback in a very sensitive way, but at the same time, call people out when they don't quite line up with what needs to, what's required of a position or what they think they're capable of doing. Help people kind of talk them off the ledge every once in a while when things aren't going the way that it should.
A little bit of a counselor, sure.
I kind of feel like that for sure. Absolutely. It's a little bit of everything, but we're growing and we're excited about what the next 12 months and the next 12 to 15 years look like.
Well, Alan, thank you so much. This is fabulous. If someone wants to get in touch with you, what is the best place to do it? Or how do you recommend they reach out to you specifically?
Well, they can certainly search LinkedIn and search for Alan Goff, ALANGOTH. And I did need to just correct you. The name of the company is actually Certitude, not Certified. Certitude.
Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. Okay.
That's okay. Certitude Talent Solutions, and the website is www.certitudetalent.com. But if they Google search Alan Goff, medical recruiter, they'll probably find me. So we try to have a good social media presence, but LinkedIn would certainly be an easy place to do it.
Excellent. Well, Alan, thank you so much. And you've given me a lot of food for thought to share with my clients, and I'm sure our listeners will appreciate it.
Really enjoyed it, Virginia. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. Take care. Certitude Talent Solutions.
You've been listening to Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco. To learn more about storytelling strategies to catch the eye of today's SCIM online readers, hiring and decision makers, go to www.virginiafrancoresumes.com.